My name is Scott Cullither, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of the global live brand storytelling agency Invent. My inspirational word is pivot. I selected this word because to our industry, it's more relevant today than ever. I've watched so many of you pivot over the last couple of months with your careers and your businesses, and in remarkable ways. I'm so proud and honored to be part of this incredibly meaningful and resilient industry. While traditional large-scale face-to-face events may still be a while off, as many governments around the globe begin to ease their COVID-19 restrictions, it's important to start thinking about how your business will evolve in a post-COVID-19 era. So I'm here today to talk you through some key considerations to make in the now to future-proof your business for tomorrow. If you're ready, let's roll. We believe brand storytelling is key to ongoing growth because that's what differentiates a business. It prevents audiences from viewing it as just another brand name or tagline and adds an important human layer. But it must evolve as the world around us does. What a consumer looks for in a brand pre and during COVID-19 will be dramatically different post-COVID-19. So its brand story must, to a degree, evolve and be fluid as a result. How can we, as event marketers, help our clients reshape and then tell their brand stories post-COVID? It's important first to get under the skin of the company's DNA. Consult with your clients and find out how they view their business amid the pandemic and try to learn about their biggest challenges. Unearth information about their audience, for example. Have they been targeting the right people? And how is consumer sentiment right now? What are their biggest concerns? We always conduct independent research into the brand and consider things like, how is it currently perceived in the public and behind closed doors? And how does it add value to consumers' lives? You'll find most brands, especially during times of crisis, have countless messages circulating. It's important to condense these into a concise and single narrative. And we found the best way to achieve effective brand storytelling and rework that story in line with external social, cultural, and political factors is by developing a proprietary methodology that works for you. Ours happens to be a 7-step process called invention. It enables us to pinpoint and simplify a brand's key messages, assuring they are consistent across the board. In essence, evolving a brand's message from chaos to clarity. A proven consistent methodology will ensure that the brand story is on point, on message, consistent across all channels, and ultimately sticky. We've seen some great examples of brands transforming their live physical events into live virtual events. But there really is nothing more powerful or potent than a real face-to-face interaction. And at the same time, digital is an incredibly powerful medium in the context of live physical events. Enter the phygital trend. The Urban Dictionary defines phygital as a concept of blending digital experiences with physical experiences, taking the best aspects from each space to create the optimal customer experience. It's essentially a mode where we simultaneously exist in both our online and offline worlds. Consider, for example, attending a concert, capturing and sharing your highlights via your smartphone. That's a phygital experience. From live streaming physical events to providing regular updates via web and social. Many of us were probably designing and producing phygital events far before COVID-19. The Samsung 1H Unpacked event that our team designed and produced in February is a great example.
Okay, shoot.
Brand new Galaxy S20.
You can capture scenes with a level of detail you've never experienced.
100 times zoom. You now have the most versatile storytelling tool.
You can capture videos in stunning 8K. With AI, you can use this revolutionary camera to the fullest. Streaming today's event with S20 devices.
As Samsung's mobile entertainment partner.
My friend Hiroshi from Google.
Introducing Galaxy Buds Plus.
Galaxy Z Flip is a statement smartphone.
We have created something truly special.
Thank you.
The key USP here, the entire experience was live streamed using Samsung's new Galaxy S20. This not only meant people across the world could tune in live, but the brand shifted their live stream experience from one that utilized traditional studio cameras to mobile devices to reflect millennials' dynamic lifestyles, a key phygital audience. A second example is the Mint concept launch we helped Genesis bring to life, and it was a phygital experience too. The luxury car brand wanted to provide media, VIPs, and consumers with a sneak peek into its new Mint concept ahead of the New York Auto Show. So they opted for a satellite event at Hudson Yards, making it the first event to be held at the home of the now world-famous vessel. The launch, which infused a fashion show, live music performances, and choreographed dance acts, saw approximately 250 live attendees, and the experience was also live streamed via Twitter, where views on social engagement topped over 500,000. We can expect demand for experiences like these to rise exponentially once restrictions begin to ease. Firstly, we believe it's very unlikely that 1,000-plus attendee events will return overnight. Instead, we'll see smaller satellite events become the norm. And they'll be live streamed, connecting the satellite audiences. And the large majority of attendees will experience the events virtually. Thanks to technology developments, we're able to amplify these smaller scale experiences ourselves, so those not in the room can participate from anywhere in the world. Take the Samsung 1H live stream I mentioned. It secured 55 million unique visits within days of the launch. Then there's the concept of what we like to call citizen journalism in the context of phygital events, where we rely on audiences to share their experiences with their own networks so that they can do two things. One, see the content virtually, and two, share it as well. This has been made possible with the rise of technology like smartphones and tablets and the social platforms they accommodate. From a tweet commenting on the quality of a speaker to a TikTok of an attendee engaging with an interactive installation. Pre-COVID, we looked to millennials and Gen Zs, who in 2019 made up well over half of the world's population, as the ultimate citizen journalists. Studies have shown they prefer to spend their hard-earned cash on shareable experiences over things, and they are super, super tech savvy. Think about it. This generation of consumers practically came out of the womb with a smartphone attached to their hip. As a result, they naturally and instantly head online to share their live event highlights with their networks and become citizen journalists as they report back on the experience to all of their friends and colleagues who weren't able to be there. It's a process that has the ability to enhance an individual's social currency, create greater brand authenticity, and simultaneously extend the reach of a live experience from 1,000 to millions in minutes. And now, with people more tech savvy than ever, we can leverage these devices to encourage citizen journalism among attendees of all ages. As physical events come back, likely on a smaller scale, as I'd mentioned, to start, there's an opportunity to proactively encourage those attending in person to share their experiences with people who aren't able to be there. But how, you might ask? Well, let me give you several examples that we're thinking about and we're executing. Weave elements worth sharing throughout. Think a renowned performer, immersive installation, seamless design and interactive activities, and hashtagable moments or phrases. Advocate for virtual sharing from the get-go. We think about pre-event comms, on-site signage as attendees enter the venue. We ask speakers to remind guests to share their highlights post-session. Create and promote a dedicated event hashtag so virtual attendees can gain real-time access to user-generated content. And it's time to consider how you can creatively and effectively produce these types of hybrid experiences as we come out on the other side of this pandemic. With some consumers concerned about attending face-to-face events again, it's important to start to communicate the measures you and your partners are taking to ensure their health and well-being will be maintained when that time does come. Our venue partners are an essential part of the event ecosystem and key players when it comes to ensuring the health and safety of attendees. And now it's time to look ahead if you haven't already. How are your venue partners planning for the future? Things like considering how they and you can become a part of an ongoing discussion so that you as a vendor and a supplier partner can help them where possible and weave their protocols into your own event playbooks. There are several questions to consider that we always review and look around for. Things leading from like registration. How are venues changing their procedures to ensure infected individuals don't enter the venues? And what are they doing to minimize human contact? Think of things like thermal imaging, on-site isolation areas, and more. When it comes to social distancing, how will social distancing be maintained? Things like more spacious floor plans, floor markings to indicate new space regulations, and overall show flow and crowd management measures will all need to be formalized. What about hygiene? How are venues helping to stop the spread? The virus spreads, as we all know, when we touch contaminated objects or surfaces. So regular deep cleans should become the norm. Plus, personal protective equipment should be worn and provided. What are your venue partners doing to help all of this? It's very, very important that we work together. And then we need to consider training. Implementing new processes correctly requires training, and we shouldn't cut corners when it comes to COVID-19. Ask your venue partners how they're educating their staff, attendees, speakers, exhibitors, and any other key stakeholders. With China beginning to emerge out of COVID-19, it has started holding events again. In fact, the 2020 Hunan Auto Show ran last week from April 30th to May 5th. It was interesting to see how the venue and organizers adapted its pre-COVID-19 procedures to minimize the spread of the virus. Some of the things that they did, for example, were first, to qualify to visit the show, attendees had to submit an ID card and undergo a health and identity check before they arrived. Workers wore PPE and verified each visitor's ID and temperature when they entered the exhibition hall. Attendees' hands were disinfected by automatic machines, and they received plastic gloves to wear. And all attendees and exhibitors had to wear a mask throughout and were urged to wash their hands frequently. Attendees were also instructed to stay 1.5 meters away from each other. They did things like build 2 temporary medical centers that were set up on site specifically for the purpose of caring for those who were displaying symptoms. The exhibition hall was disinfected and sterilized 3 times per day during the move-in and 2 times per day during the show. Regular communications is another important consideration to make. People may be wary of attending events to begin with, so it's up to us to create a real sense of calm. And there are a number of things that we are doing that you might want to consider. Take an earned media approach, for instance, and share how you're implementing new measures to safeguard the health and well-being of attendees with all of our media outlets and colleagues. Outlining the new measures in regular pre-event communications is critical. Remind everyone of these measures on site via digital screens. If you have an event app, use the app to communicate, and all of the other vehicles that we have at our disposal. Revising comms as new best practices emerge. It's important to create a platform for attendees to raise concerns or ask questions via a dedicated email address, chatbot, and/or hotline. All of these things will help get us back on our feet. And to conclude, I'd like to share a quick piece of leadership advice with all of you. As leaders, we need to be willing to pivot, not only during COVID-19, but at all times. Our world is constantly changing, and we need to navigate our businesses through these changes so that they not only stay afloat, but are prepared, ready, and constantly out in front of the curve. And that's what makes successful businesses stand apart from the rest. And it's why I've been reiterating that we must future-proof ourselves for a post-COVID era in the now. We don't really know when things will go back to normal completely, but the least we can do is plan ahead based on what we know now and evolve or pivot as the pandemic and the world does. No matter how big your organization is, it's time to be nimble, move fast, act smart, and pivot. Good luck, everyone, and stay safe.